Emily, welcome to the Lessons of a Lashpreneur show and our coaching corner.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, girl, my pleasure. Thank you so much for applying to be on the podcast and for putting yourself out there. That's a bold move. So let's dive in. So you have a team of how many currently?
So let's see. Right now, I have a girl who is on maternity leave, and then I have 2 active full-time stylists in addition to myself.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. And what was the reason for you wanting to expand and bring on team?
Yeah, this is like my favorite question because I feel like when I meet young entrepreneurs, this is not what they say. So I love saying like, this is why I did it, and it kind of helps like find your grounding point a little bit. So I had my son. I have a 3-year-old right now, and I was fully booked, getting all of these referrals in. And I'm like, holy moly, how am I going to still keep taking all these people and still have a family life?
Right.
That you don't, right? You start having to choose one or the other. So
Yes.
I would start referring my clients outwards because I set the boundary in place, family time is important to me. And they would come back to me and their work was like awful. And I felt so bad because I was like, I sent you there. Like I told you to go there.
Yeah.
So it kind of just evolved because I wanted to make sure that if I wasn't available, my clients were still being taken care of in a quality service that I felt confident in. So I used to be a trainer back in the day. And so I was like, you know what? I know how to train. Why don't I train a staff for my clients?
Okay. And so what is your vision? Let's say 5-year vision. Like forget the how-tos, forget the steps. Like what is it that's like the big picture goal that we're working towards?
I would just like to have a team environment of like-minded lash artists. I think in this industry, there's a lot of I think this way. Our industry is still new. A lot of people have a lot of opinions and different things. So a team of like-minded lash artists that we can all share clients. There's no weird stuff of like, oh, you can't go see so-and-so because she doesn't do this. I want a client to be able to know if they walk in here, they are getting a safe service. And I would like to expand what we have now tenfold. Like I would love to have a team of 10 to 15 lash artists.
Why?
Just to always know that there's someone there. Like you have people in your circle, you have someone on your team. I used to work by myself and I felt super isolated, as a solo lash artist. Yeah. And the pressure was all on me all the time to perform. And personally, I hated that.
Okay, awesome. So goal being 10x growth. So let's just throw some numbers out there too, because I think that'll help a lot of listeners know what's possible. So if you were to 10x the revenue that you're currently doing, what is it we're looking at as far as annual sales?
Ooh, so my first year open was a COVID year. So that was kind of
opening during COVID. That was great.
Yeah, I opened in September and we shut down January, February. So a couple months in. I think this year, so from January 1, we're on track about 180,000.
So we're looking at 1.8, 2 million.
180,000. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
so,
saying
yeah, times 10. Yep. Yeah.
How does that sound, guys? 1.8 to $2 million a year business.
I don't think I've ever manifested a million before.
Well, welcome to the Lashpreneur dream. All right. So the primary thing that you're facing right now is how to make sure that there is consistency across anybody that a client might see. So whether they see a new artist every time or not, they're walking out with the same results. Great question. So what is stopping you and getting in the way of that happening now? What is it that you're seeing that they're not exactly getting the consistency across multiple team members?
So I finally, for the first time, feel like we are the closest to that it's ever been. Previous issues, I guess, is just finding the type of person who is going to take the time and see those nitty gritty things, care, they put in the effort. So I feel like I've been lashing for a little bit. So, I'm always going to pull out the inner corners, pull out the outer corners. I feel like our clients are used to us doing those things. So a lash artist is going to have similar timing. Timing is a huge one. Clients are so used to a 60-minute fill, and then they go to someone else and it's a 2-hour fill and they panic. Right. Even if their lashes look great, they panic.
So to clarify, do you have 1099s or W-2s?
W-2s.
Great. Perfect. Then you are in complete control over their work. All right. So what is your onboarding process? Do you have one? Is it written out? Is it the same every time you bring on somebody new?
No. So my last employee, I kind of realized that this needs to change, or I need to be in further control because it starts during onboarding. So we created
the sourcing of candidates. Actually, it starts well before they are ever given the offer. So this is the beautiful thing about what path you're on now in scaling your business to be more than just you. You're actually outsourcing the revenue generating activities of the business, which is the service providing, right? And to in order to copy and paste you, we actually now have to take what you have become so conditioned and second nature to do, and how you do lashes and how you view a client and how you think of it. And we have to put it on paper and have our methodology that is the Emily Moore methodology, so that you can teach somebody else to do it. And ultimately, we're getting to the point where the people that you've taught can teach somebody else to do it, so that you're not in part of training anymore, that you're overseeing the business as a whole and outsourcing even the training and the hiring process. Because if you're getting to a team of 10 to 15 lash artists, you are going to struggle to have day-to-day management and any sort of quality of life. We want managers to come in to oversee operational stuff, so that you can be a part of that big vision and the revenue and forecasting of the business. So
that would be amazing.
Yeah. So this is what I work on a lot with my one-on-one clients who want to build it out, is like, what is the whole process from going from I want to hire someone to they have now reached their 90-day onboarding and they are a full-fledged trained revenue generating machine. And now we just turn into marketing to building them a clientele, but they are performing at the level that you want.
Right.
So, for the purposes of this call and this session, let's focus on the onboarding and the training to try and get to that end result of everybody is getting the consistent results across the board.
Okay.
So what I love to do when it comes to any sort of goal planning is start with the end in mind. So if you had to verbalize a client getting the result that you want, what exactly does that look like to you? You mentioned something about their inner corners are done. So that could be one component of it. What else?
So I guess my expectations as a client coming in here, like what expectations I want to be met. Thorough consultation. I want them to be heard. I want the lash artist to be able to talk and educate them if they need it, on what's appropriate for them, yes, they like Karen's lashes, but it doesn't mean that we need to do that to have that look. So just being able to kind of like control that situation and help guide the client first in what their lash journey will be like. During the service, just again, educating on what you're doing, not in a lash artist way, but just in a way that a client can understand, making them feel comfortable. We am super big on 100% coverage, mega volume 80%, but I really, really push that your attention will not be the best if you are not getting that coverage. Just because you have 60% coverage with volume and they wanted like a classic look doesn't mean that their lashes are going to look like that for 2 weeks. So really explaining to the client and making sure the lash artist can get 100% coverage, so that way retention will be where we want it to. And then just educating on like the afterwards process. Again, like what to expect with lash extensions. I feel like most people in our area are very well educated, like on what lash extensions are. The expectations of when they leave us, I feel like that is not clear yet to people. Right. So making sure they know that they're going to walk out of here and shed lashes, and that's normal, and we don't want you to panic, rather than me getting attacked with emails like, hey, I'm at the grocery store and a lash fell out. Oh my gosh.
I brought them in a baggie.
Oh yes, I heard that. Yeah.
All right.
Just making sure the client's questions are answered all around and they leave with something that is tailored to them specifically.
Yeah, beautiful. So all of that can be scripted. It can be scripts and prompts that you have for your team to get into this cycle of, they're saying basically the same thing in the way that you want it said, at the timing that you want it said. Most of the stuff you just mentioned is actually part of consultation. So setting the expectations. Where I want to challenge you is to get very specific in what you're saying, because you're like, I want there to be a thorough consultation. Your idea of a thorough consultation versus mine versus a new employee is going to be very different. So what are the actual steps of your consultation? You know, they fill out the paperwork. They have 5 minutes to do that. Then we have a 5-minute sit down and we go over these 3 things that are, you know, that we need to cover in order to understand what the client's desired results were. Here are some questions, some probing questions to make sure that you understand the client's desired results. Are there any pictures? What does dramatic mean to them? How much makeup do they wear on a daily basis? Like all of these things as lash artists that we are trying to understand what the client's language means in our terms.
Right.
So that however the methodology is that you go through that process, you just need to start writing it down so that basically you're going to be teaching your team members how to think and view a client like you do, right? Because you have a process. You have the same vision. Like if somebody says dramatic, what is the next question you would ask, or what is it that comes to mind for you?
Oh gosh, I mean, it could go a million different ways is the issue. When you say dramatic, are you talking density? Are you talking length? We could start there.
So that would be the first question that you would have your team member ask the client. Okay, when you're talking about drama, do you mean length or do you want density, like a like a thick lash or a strip lash, or are you talking just you want a blonde? So that's a probing question. So yes, it could go a million different ways, but your process of going through it and discovering what the client actually means is actually very much the same. They say, I want density. Here's some questions we go. Or I want length. Here's where we go when we talk about natural lash health, right? And so it can be a very cookie cutter kind of, or not cookie cutter, a templated process that your team members follow, so that you minimize, like the whole goal of that as a business owner standpoint is to minimize unhappy clients and free redos because the client was upset.
Right.
So it is, yes, it's going to take time for your team members to go through a consultation, but that's actually saving you money in the long run by not having or, you know, upset clients or having to give refunds or whatever ends up happening. So you can justify, you know, a 5 to 10 minute consultation for new clients. For recurring clients, what is the process for a consultation for clients just coming in for their fill?
So obviously I'm gonna say it varies depending how long they've been my client. If it is their first couple times in, we'll spend a little bit more time asking, you know, how was your last 2 weeks? Just kind of if they start to abbreviate, be like, oh, it was good. Like I felt like some were shedding after like a week, you know, we might go into that. If it's a new client and they lay down and they really don't tell me anything's wrong, I might just start lashing them. I might say, hey, have you cleansed your lashes within the last like couple hours? They say yes. If not, they go to the bathroom, they lay down and start lashing. I mean, I know what their expectations are.
So this is where you have to step away from doing these custom, like I know the client kind of things. Yes, your team members will bring it to that point too. I mean, if somebody's been coming for years, like you don't have to have, did you like the style? But you need to train your team to make sure that the client has the opportunity to express their feelings about things, right? Their dislikes, their likes, whatever. So a fill consultation would be a minute or two. How did the lashes last? Is there anything you'd like to change? Did you like them? Did you not like them? And just let the client give their feedback. The lash artist makes adjustments based on the lashes they're going to choose based on the client's feedback. And that's it. But it's all a process. That trouble in being able to recreate you is if you're customizing each and every single client thing, because you're not scalable. You have a finite amount of time, and once Emily's out of time, the business is done growing. So there is an aspect of pulling back on the customization, which you can do, but it's going to take longer for team members to pick up on that, and you have to be able to verbalize why did you do it. And honestly, there has to be a revenue generating reason to do that. Because here's the thing with a lot of lash artists, even those that don't have team members, is a common problem is that they will do as much time as it takes to get to 100% coverage. And so some clients are a 3-hour fill, some they can do in 60 minutes, but there's inconsistencies. Well, at a certain point, you run out of profitability. Like you're still going to charge the same amount for the time. So you have to have consistency in the time of the service. One thing I do want to challenge you on is should every single lash be add, or should every single lash have an extension on it if it's a baby lash or an unhealthy lash in your
Oh no, for sure. No, baby lashes, unhealthy lashes, we skip. No,
okay,
especially with
so
classic mega volume
we
skip.
do 100% coverage.
Right. So 100% coverage of lashes that can be lashed.
Right. So that's where, both from a marketing standpoint, you got to be careful with that terminology, because the client will get upset. I don't know if you've had those, but like the really stickler ones of like, oh, there's one.
Oh gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
For advertising, we do 100% coverage, when in fact, there's no arguing whether something is 100% or not. So I like to go more of the result that they're getting. And I love your approach of, we get a certain percent of coverage to increase our retention results. Absolutely. Also, if your metric is that a team member lash 100% coverage, and she is panicking because she's reaching her time limit and she still has 10 lashes that haven't been lashed yet, you're setting them up for failure rather than success, because you're probably okay. Like, yeah, great. You did as much as you could in that time, and the client's not going to know the difference whether those extra 10 lashes are on there or not. You want them to be set up for success. So I would come up with a different terminology other than 100% coverage, because it's not actually
okay.
But I do think, like, your reasoning for it and explaining, we do as much coverage as possible. So that would also be your application process, how you train them in application and having a consistent application process. So talk me through your application process. Do you do one eye at a time, go back and forth between the eyes? What's your methodology?
Typically I'll do one eye at a time. There's, a couple instances, like if someone has a wonky 2 weeks and like one eye shed a lot more, like those are more special occasions. I'll start on the lesser eye just to help me gauge my time. So we do schedule by time. So we have worked hard to train our clients, if they've had more shedding, they need to book a longer fill. But if they're scheduled for a 60-minute fill, they get 60 minutes of lashing. So I have set up throughout those 60 minutes, the first, say, 5 minutes, briefly talking, cleansing if they haven't done so, using the restroom, lying down. Their foam tape should be on within the first 5 minutes. Their lashes should be clean. If it's not, that's just them being unprepared, showing up to their appointment without clean lashes, and it'll take away from their lashing time. So they're already cleansed. We prime, dry, light on, start lashing until the 50-minute mark. The 50-minute mark, you should be checking your work, applying sealant, fanning, turning your light off, taking the foam tape off, and then checking out your client. We check out our own clients and we'll schedule. So you should be at the front desk by the 55 mark. Your next client would be on the hour. So, we have a tight policy of for our clients more than 10 minutes late, we have the right to reschedule, just because we say, like, we will be on time for you. If we're not on time, you will hear from us.
100%.
Yes.
Love the boundaries. Yes. And I think that's great for your team too. And I want you, so we've got to look at how your current process, if we start to expand that to 10 other lash artists, we've got to kind of start to look at where we might find gaps or things that might go wrong. So when I hear you doing one eye at a time, and I'm totally cool with that being your methodology, but here's something that might happen: poor time management on lash artist part. That you're going to get, when you're looking at 10 lash artists, you're going to go through a lot of people who aren't going to hit the mark, right? And so
for sure,
you're
lose track of time, or
right. So for process wise, if I'm looking at how to train multiple people over the next couple of years, maybe even 100, lash artists that are going through my business, hopefully not that many, but you never know. Trying to set them up for success, again, because we want them set up for success, and the right people will stick around. The bad people, or the people that turn out to be the bad eggs, will kind of filter them out. But if they had, like if they do mapping, where they do one lash in each section of the map, go to the other side of each section, that for process wise, for the application and training, would be easier for them to get to some of a result, rather than, shoot, I spent 30 minutes on one eye because I lost track of time and I got in a groove, and now I only have like 15 minutes left to do the other eye.
Yes. And our last employee, we did teach her like that. And we literally, it felt like a math equation. We sat down and drew out her maps, and we said 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here, or if she was doing a 2-hour full set, and really just helped distribute the time.
Yeah. But even
because,
just like 5 lashes on one eye switch, 5 lashes on the other eye switch. And so, you know,
okay, yeah,
it's going to be a challenge. Like this is where they can work on timing and you have data to go,
right.
okay, over, and you know, you could have her when she's in her training, like each time she does this eye, she does a little check mark, and over 2 hours, how many little, you know, how many times did she go back across the eyes? Okay,
Yeah.
next time I want you to get 2 more rounds in on your eyes. We're going to work on picking up your time so that she has a metric to follow rather, I mean, it could be time-based too, but
right. Yeah.
knowing the women in our industry, like time management is a significant issue.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can't be you're thinking of a million things. How can you stare at the
or
clock?
they're talking a lot, or they're still learning. Like you also have to think about, I don't know how much you follow me, but in marketing, we talk about MFC, your most favorite client type. It's kind of like target market. We also do the same thing for employees, our ideal type of employee, our most favorite employee type. And so are we hiring people that are straight out of beauty school and you're going to train them from scratch? Are we looking at people who have experience and bad habits and, you know, may want to go out on their own? You kind of got to think about who are the type of women I want in my business. And then how is my process going to help set them up for success or take away from success? So who's the type of ideal type of client that you tend to gravitate towards or that you want in your business?
Client wise, we see a lot of people that are
employee wise.
Oh,
like,
employee wise. Yeah. I would love, and I've had good success with the people who are fresh out of school. I want people who don't know anything. And I want to like literally scoop them up like a little baby and just cradle them and be like, I have so much to teach you.
Yes.
And here we go.
Yeah. I would
like, it's so exciting when they're new and fresh.
I mean, I don't know if you guys remember getting out of beauty school, but there were not many options for hiring and training. And at least in my world, it was like you got paid minimum wage and you just kind of sat around forever and the training was. So I love the idea of you taking somebody who's fresh out of school and starting to build and grow their skill set. Because I think that is a huge strength you have. So with that, we've got a lot of, and you have experience of this as a trainer, we've got a lot of people in their head and who get frustrated very easily. And this is the first time they're trying something. So in your onboarding, especially with, because your onboarding is not just teaching them the skill set. That's a big component of it because that's the deliverable of what the service is and what clients pay for. But you're also teaching them about the culture of the team, how you operate the business, the mission and the values of the business, because it's one thing to get a warm body in there and train them and teach them all this beautiful stuff. It's another thing to get them to be a long-term employee who's loyal to the business and the brand. And you do that by all of the missions and the values and the culture of the team and the teamwork and this feeling of belonging somewhere, because that will help in instances when it doesn't make sense to pay them like the 50% commission that somebody who doesn't know how to run a salon and a team is doing. Because we have to be careful that we're not paying too much to team members and we're losing profit because we have such high labor costs. So there's a lot that can come from feeling of belonging, being a part of a team, a sisterhood, and that all stems from you.
Right. I mean, I definitely feel like our salon culture, like I take pride in. I mean, I will, block out time for the girls to just go sit down, have lunch together, our meetings. I just recently actually blocked off an hour on my schedule every other week to just literally have an hour together, have time. Like, you have questions, I need to talk to you about anything. Let's talk social media. Let's talk life. Let's talk, you're having trouble with clients.
Social media. Do they have their own social?
They do. Yes. We just had a class on it yesterday.
Oh, I would say that would be a bad idea for them to have their individual social media.
Okay.
I thought about 10 to 15 women having their own social media accounts, and one gets pissed off and leaves, but now you have no access to that social media account and she starts putting you on blast.
So, funny story, I had a girl leave earlier this week.
Weird.
Yeah, this is, I don't know. I've worked in a couple different salons with non-competes, all the things. And I feel like as an employee, you leave with such a sour taste in your mouth about the non-compete. But at the end of the day, I've looked back to how they treated me when I left and how they treated me during my employment. If they treated me fairly, if we had a personal relationship and everything was fair, I would say out of the kindness of my heart, I'm not going to talk bad. And I would hope by showing our missions, our values, what we're about, the person wouldn't do the same. If I truly live within my mission statement, you know, I would hope the next person wouldn't do it, but
somebody else's behavior. So we're trying to
for
minimize
sure.
the risk to the business, the brand. She may not steal clients, but she could damage your reputation, because now all of these people that were following her because she was associated with your business are now seeing her meltdown and her upsetness, and that is tarnishing your brand. And you're going to have a hard time controlling that because you can't access her account. So when it comes, and think about it from a logistical standpoint, and you being able to track marketing that's working and not working. Because by the way, you have to pay them for everything that they do for social media marketing. Otherwise they can sue you for lack of compensation. Them posting, them engaging, them following, them editing their photos. That is all stuff that you owe them money for, because that is part of their job. So are you paying them for those hours and that time that they're also doing social media? Actually, don't say anything. Think about it.
Okay.
Don't incriminate yourself, but think about that.
Yeah.
Also,
Yep.
So if you think about 10 to 15 team members, you probably are going to have somebody who's doing marketing specifically and social media management.
Yeah.
You want all of that funneled into one place, so clients aren't confused as to like who this person is. If that person leaves, now I want to go find her, but she said she signed a non-compete and I can't go to her anymore, but I don't want to go to this business, or I don't know what the business was originally. And it's just messy. Whereas if you had the primary salon account, you can feature your lash artist. They can do takeovers. You can talk. I mean, they can be a part of the social media marketing, but they don't have their own accounts to manage.
So if everyone is so into social media, I guess, how would that conversation go to, I don't want to say discourage them?
You have people who want to create content for the primary business account.
Yeah. Okay.
But this also is where they get to take a step back and they don't have to do the marketing, because here's the thing. If I'm an employee at a business and you teach me amazing skill sets and you teach me how to build a clientele, chances are I'm going to get taste of, I could be doing this on my own. Why am I splitting money with this owner when I could go do the same thing on my own for more money? In their mind. Now we know oftentimes the money isn't there when you're kind of solo for the first long while.
Well, no, which is like basically exactly what just happened.
Right. But it is the belief in this industry that you make more money on your own until you get into it and you're like,
for sure.
Lashpreneur was born. So this is where we want to be careful about what type of skill sets we're investing in them growing, because we don't want to necessarily create our competition. We want to keep these people that we've invested so much time, energy, and training into. It is costing you money every second you spend training them.
Right.
But the goal is getting a return on that investment because you have a revenue generating asset.
Right.
That makes sense. So if I were you, I would say, hey guys, we're going to do a pivot. I actually want all the social media accounts under this one account. You guys need to shut down your accounts, right? Like no longer can you have that. You're the boss. They're your W-2s. That is part of the game. They are not to have any sort of social media accounts that are professional whatsoever, right? That's something that you can have as a term of your employment. They can have personal, whatever, but we're not posting lash photos. We're not soliciting clients. We're not following clients. The business owns the clients. The employees do not. The employees do not have access to client information. That's where it's nice to have one central spot where checkouts happen, where phone calls happen. They're not from their personal cell phone, anything like that.
Yes, we do. And that was something that was in my handbook, like day one. We have a Google Voice number. It comes to my phone, the salon phone. Yeah. Clients are not to DM, text you, call you, nada.
Yeah. Yes. And that is just a protection. We're going to assume that we've done our job in, going through the hiring process and weeding out the shady people, but every once in a while one might slip in, and we just need to make sure that we are covered, whether somebody, because here's the thing. I think most people want to do good and they want to be a part of a team, but if their livelihood is threatened, like they're coming from a scarcity mindset, or they don't have enough money to pay bills, some people look to others and where opportunities are, because that's the only way they know. No matter what vibe you're putting out there, no matter what manifestation you're putting out there, no matter how in integrity you operate from, there are people that do not have that same mindset. They just were never around that. All they've known is hustle and grind and me first. And so we just need to make sure that there's just boundaries in place. So even if those people come along, that it's going to minimize the impact on the business overall. Okay. And that's where I want you to have this bubble of protection where you're in control of the things that make sense for you to be in control of, that you have processes that everybody follows. And that's how you get consistency. Because here's the thing, when you get to the point where you have a hiring process, an onboarding process, or a pay structure that's consistent, that everybody knows what's expected of them, that they're being tracked for their performance, here's what you need to meet. And when you go above that, I'm happy to, reward the team with dinners and lunches and trips and bonuses and, all this fun stuff. But we're not all going to be looking to Emily to pay us more because we've been here a year. We're going to be looking to Emily to grow the business so that we can all grow together. Right. So if you have, I like performance-based incentives. So if somebody, they have their set number of appointments and pre-booking and like they're not getting a bunch of requests for free fills because they messed up on retention, like you'll have certain metrics in your business. And if they go above and beyond that, and that helps grow the business, I'm happy to provide a bonus for them financially so that they are in control of their financial future and not coming to you for a payday, just because they've been there X amount of months or years.
Right.
All right. I know we've talked about a lot and it's like a fire because we're trying to get it done quickly, but process for your friend to get to where you can replicate what you've already got. Just start writing everything down. From the second you walk in the door, what do? What is your opening procedures? What is your client greeting procedures? What is your checkout procedures, your application procedures, your closing procedures? How do you pre-book clients? How do you accept credit card payments? How do you accept cash? All of that, just start documenting it, because that is going to be the blueprint for your business moving forward. And that is how you create more Emilys in the world and in your business, because you have documented everything that you do. So even when you're not there and you've got somebody who's, training a new employee, they just go to the SOPs or the processes and go, okay, well, here's how we do checkout for clients. You're going to follow step 1, step 2, step 3. Let me know if you have any questions.
So, I mean, yeah. So, when we're talking about documenting the whys and the reasons and all of that, what would be the safest way to deliver that info without them taking it and going somewhere else? We're talking about protecting client info. How can you also protect your onboarding info, your hiring info without it? You see what I'm saying? Without leading and them.
Printout. It's a physical printout that you have. It's the, what do you call that? It's not the employee manual, because that just like enlists your procedures.
So you'd recommend it being like a physical printout that just like doesn't leave, stays with me.
Yeah, stays in the situation. Stays in the office. The office is locked when you're not in there. But this also helps you with like, hey, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave. Like some booking softwares have where you can put it in test mode and like they can practice like booking a client or something like that. So I'm gonna be here, pretend to book 3 clients. I'm gonna be, because you're gonna be in your treatment room a lot while you're still building out the team until we can start to get you out of the treatment room. So it'd be nice for them to have something to physically look at, or not have to like knock on your door and ask you a question, interrupt your client. They have a place that they can access. Here's the steps of it. Because here's the thing, somebody's going to steal and take that. They still don't know. It's still not their way of doing things. Like you're not reinventing the wheel by your onboarding process. Everybody has an onboarding process. You've just written yours down. Franchises, this is what a Lash franchise is. You are buying their processes to implement. Right? So if somebody wants to steal your process, you would know because the binder's gone. Right? If you have cameras, you could probably see whose backpack looked a little bit heavier that day. It's your own proprietary information, and part of your employment contract is that your trade secrets, the education, the training they get is exclusive to your business. So this would be a lawyer looking over your employment contract to make sure that you're protected from anybody trying to steal confidential and proprietary information.
Right. Okay.
And let's face it, somebody who's shady trying to steal your stuff is not going to have the level of success that you want. They're looking for the easy way out. Even with the step by steps does not mean that you're going to be successful.
Right.
All right. Well, if you ever want one-on-one coaching to go through this stuff more in depth and not like by fire hose, you let me know.
Okay, I sure will. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you so much coming on and just sharing your journey and asking the tough questions. That's awesome, girl. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.